Yes, today the big talk of the town is the weather. And actually, unfortunately, we do understand 2 tornadoes did touch down in Wharton County. So let's go ahead and bring in meteorologist Ramisha Shade, who's been tracking these storms for us all day. Ramisha.
It's been another very busy day, Rashi, and we continue to track this weather. I think things will get a little bit better over the next couple of days. It's not going to be 100% great, but I don't think the rain and storm action will be as widespread or as long-lived. But this morning was rough. Let's just get right to it. Let's just be real. We had several rounds of heavy rain, and those storms that developed, especially around Palacios and up towards Bay City, just kind of stayed over some of the same areas several hours. That led to the training of storms, flash flooding, and of course, we did have some tornadoes reported as well. So let's get to this video. You can see this is video from Wharton County. We had an EF1 and an EF0 tornado reported between 3 and 4 a.m. this morning. You can see there was definitely some major structural damage to that one house there. We had reports of some trees that were snapped, tree limbs ripped off. You can see a ceiling fan there just lying out in the yard. So some significant damage there. We also had a lot of flash flooding as well that continues to cause problems. So it's been a very rowdy morning, to say the least. It's been a little bit better for the afternoon, and now as we go into the evening, you can see those heavy downpours that continue to move on out. So we are rolling in the right direction at least. We do still have a flood warning down around Edna and Lake Jackson and Palacios through 9 p.m. for the possibility of lingering street flooding, but at least we've gotten rid of all of those super heavy downpours and no severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings at this time. So that is the good news for us right now. We do have some improvements at least, but it was a rough morning, and this will show you some of what we had to deal with. This is our Fox Rad radar estimating the amount of rain that we've had just over the last 24 hours, and look at that, a whopping 6 to almost 12 inches of rain showing up around Bay City, Palacios, Edna, Victoria, Port Lavaca, and you can still see that aerial flood warning. That does include a big chunk of Matagorda County, Jackson County, and a little portion of Brazoria County and parts of southwestern Wharton County until 9 p.m. So this does not mean that we have super heavy rain and flash flooding going on, but it basically means we had so much rain earlier today that some of those streets are likely still flooded. So you will want to watch out at least through 9 p.m. and hopefully we can get rid of that flood warning. What about Houston, Baytown? How did we fare in all of the heavy rain earlier today? Well, Houston kind of missed out. You can see that we did get around 2 to 3 inches for parts of Houston, but at least we didn't have to worry about 10 or 12 inches. But over towards Baytown, almost 6 inches of rain showing up there, and in between Wharton, East Bernard, and Needville, close to 8 inches of rain. Now, let's get to those 2 brief tornadoes that we had this morning. One, Northeast Wharton County, EF1 tornado right around 3:05 a.m. Did some tree damage, minor roof damage, crossed over County Roads 166, 133, and 129 with peak winds of 100 miles per hour and a path length of 1.5 miles, path width around 130 yards. Second tornado was a little bit weaker. Peak winds around 75 miles per hour. EF0 tornado around 3:20 a.m. was on the ground for about 2 miles with a path width of about 50 yards, and it did some damage to an older shed. Both of those were in kind of rural areas. Fortunately, they didn't hit in highly populated areas, but they still managed to do a little damage, and it was still a scary scenario. So fortunately, nothing like that out there right now. We do still have some showers around Edna, El Campo, Bay City, and Palacios, and we do still have a flood watch in that exact same area that has been extended through Friday evening. So any additional rain, Rashi, for those spots will result in likely some additional flooding. And I think we will start to see more showers and storms forming along the coast tomorrow morning, especially after 5 a.m. And of course, those are the areas that have already been hardest hit. So maybe some additional flooding issues, especially south of Interstate 10.
All right, Ramisha, thank you. Well, a story that we've been following over on the northwest side, there is a fear of foreclosure after fines and legal fees have been rising pretty quickly. So our Randy Wallace is joining us now live over in the Inwood Forest Village subdivision. Randy.
Yeah, Rashi, now the interesting thing about Inwood Forest Village, back in 2019, there was a big HOA scandal. Basically what happened was this guy decides he's going to basically say that he's starting an HOA, right? He even gets a management company to collect dues. Well, it turns out there really was not an HOA. That gentleman ended up being criminally charged. He has since passed away. Well, because of that scandal in the past, you've got older residents here who they question. They're very skeptical about an HOA. They are convinced that because of what happened before, there is no HOA here, which there is indeed an HOA. But again, it's creating issues for some older homeowners like Lucille North. Take a listen. When you first got a letter about HOA dues, you didn't think there was an HOA.
No, because our HOA had been dissolved. And I'm like, why are they, it was proven the money was stolen, you know. And I'm saying, why are they coming back? They want to take more money? And I just did, you know, I just went on about my business.
What happened next after that?
Oh, I said, what is this? About last year, 2024, that's when I started getting notices, things, and finding out that they were foreclosing on my home. I was really confused because I didn't understand how they could foreclose on my home and we didn't have an HOA.
What did you ultimately learn about this situation? They're trying to foreclose on your home.
For non-payment of HOA dues, and then on top of that they added fees, lawyer fees, and they kept adding fees, and I was so confused, and I'm like, everything is twirling right in my head. I'm trying to figure out what is going on.
So for about you have to pay what, roughly $10,000, or you're going to lose your home.
Yes, somewhere around there. Maybe it might be more by now, but I'm sure they're steady adding fees.
Even though they're going to foreclose on you or threatening to, just last week they sent you another thing saying that you're violating deed restrictions and they want more money.
Yes, they do. They want the trim replaced on my home, and if it needs to be replaced, replace it and paint it.
You're on the verge of losing your house.
Yes.
That must be kind of terrifying.
I don't sleep well. My skin is broken out like I'm a 15-year-old.
How long have you been at the house?
29 years.
A house that you've made mortgage payments on for almost 3 decades, you could lose over not paying your HOA dues.
Yes, I could. I could. This could actually happen to me.
What do you think?
It's wrong. I'm a senior citizen. I live on a fixed income. I can't make my money stretch to fit everything.
And what are you going to do if they foreclose on your house?
I don't know what I'm going to do. I just keep on fighting, trying to find some way to keep my home. I pray, and I rely on my friends and neighbors, the ones that are helping me, to try to keep my home.
Crest Management, which is currently working with the HOA here in Inwood Forest, says it doesn't want to foreclose on any homeowners and says it's more than willing to offer anybody in any kind of an issue, any kind of trouble, a payment plan. Reporting live from Inwood Forest, Randy Wallace, Fox 26 News.
Randy, thank you for that live report. Now we want to go to Abigail Dye, who has been working on a follow-up to a story.
I told you a story in December about a man who says criminals stole $20,000 from him using AI to clone his voice.
And we tried to recapture the funds, and they recaptured some of the funds, $300 out of $20,000 and some odd dollars.
Gary Cunningham is now suing the banks involved. He says he thinks there should be more protections for people like him. He's 76 years old, and he says it was way too easy for these criminals to take advantage.
And they had cloned my voice. And she was convinced it was my talking to her, and I didn't. And they're scamming a lot of elderly that don't have the capabilities of defending themselves.
Cunningham says making these voice clones is all too easy, and he's not wrong.
It only took me a few minutes to make this voice clone.
It's not perfect, but isn't that crazy? I used AI to clone my own voice.
Those numbers are going to continue to grow. Remember, these are people from all over the world doing this. So it's not just domestic, this is international.
I talked to an expert who suggests not even picking up your phone if you don't recognize the number these days.
The criminals want you to say something into the phone so they can record your voice. When people usually call me now, I don't pick up the phone.
And this technology is growing exponentially, so it's something to stay on top of. You can hear more from Cunningham and this expert on what you should know and what you should be doing to avoid these kinds of schemes. You can find that on fox26houston.com and of course on your Fox local app. For Fox 26 News, I'm Abigail Dye.
Well, the legal showdown between California Governor Gavin Newsom and President Donald Trump taking center stage right now in a federal courtroom in San Francisco. Excuse me, a judge is hearing arguments about whether Trump has the legal authority to send the National Guard to LA. The president said he has the right to protect federal property and personnel, while Newsom argues the president must have the consent of a governor to federalize the National Guard. Our morning team talked with Chris Marisola at the University of Houston Law Center about what constitutes martial law.
So the president's deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles has actually sparked a conversation about martial law.
Today, there is a court hearing in San Francisco where a judge will hear the state's arguments to block the deployments. Chris Marisola is assistant professor of law at the University of Houston Law Center, joining us live now to talk more in depth about this. Welcome to Houston's Morning Show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We were just looking back to see how long it's been since the government has declared martial law. It's actually 1944, after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Can you talk about, first of all, who can declare martial law? And then the president has floated using the Insurrection Act to do it. Can you tell us more about that?
Great. Yeah, no, happy to. So I want to distinguish martial law here from the Insurrection Act, which is, as you say, like what's been in the conversation. So martial law can only be invoked by the president, and it's when the military replaces civilian law enforcement. What we're talking about here with the Insurrection Act is something slightly different. It's an authorization for the military to be used to assist civilian law enforcement. So we still exist in the usual constitutional framework. All of the civil rights and civil liberties that people enjoy continue to persist. What changes is that now the military can be used to more directly assist law enforcement than would otherwise exist.
So what all exactly happens during martial law? What are the basics for someone to understand?
Yeah, so like in the context that you were talking about in Pearl Harbor, what happens is that the military takes control of all government functions. Here with the Insurrection Act, what happens is that the military is authorized to do law enforcement activities that usually would just be done by the police. And these law enforcement activities would be limited to only those actions that you need to regain control of whatever city or location is having the domestic unrest.
And then can you talk finally about how long this could last, the martial law?
Yeah, so an invocation of the Insurrection Act. In the statute, there is no set time period or set sunset for this kind of authorization. Traditionally, they've been limited to no more than a week or two, often because the military is, again, historically, always brought in as a last resort.
Okay, I tell you what, it's a little confusing to understand all this, so you really helped me understand it all. So thank you for taking time there from the University of Houston Law Center to make us all better understand it. Good to see you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good conversation there. Well, this weekend, more than half a dozen No Kings protests are planned for our area. Organizers say now, while these were planned ahead of the recent anti-ICE protests, they are expected to combine those messages along with ones against other Trump policies. Governor Abbott has stood firm, saying Texas will not tolerate this kind of lawlessness seen in LA. He has deployed more than 2,000 DPS troopers and over 5,000 Texas National Guard soldiers across the state to assist local law enforcement. He says any violence or property damage will get you arrested. The exact locations of the deployed troops have not been revealed. And earlier today on Instagram, Arlena DeFlorias broke down some of what's fueling the protests.
This is why some immigration court hearings are looking more like arrest roundups. We've got video after video in cities like Houston, Denver, Miami, San Antonio, showing immigrants applying for asylum walking into immigration courts and walking out in handcuffs. So what's going on? An immigration attorney I talked to says the reason we're seeing more and more court arrests is because the White House tripled its immigration arrest quota to hit the president's goal of 1 million deportations in his first year of office.
We are looking to set a goal of a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day, and President Trump is going to keep pushing to get that number up higher each and every single day.
Now some people are saying if you're seeking asylum and you get called to court, don't go. But not going is not an option because it means an automatic deportation order. Now, multiple reports say that DHS is telling immigration judges to dismiss more asylum cases, and that dismissal is the key to how people can be arrested when they walk out of court.
People get in front of the judge. The DHS offered dismissal of the case. A lot of people accept the dismissal. When they accept the dismissal, they withdraw the application in front of the judge. The case is closed in front of the judge. They are literally in a legal limbo, and they can be detained.
Now, ICE says they have the authority to absolutely arrest undocumented immigrants anywhere, including courts. Lawsuits challenging the detentions are already working their way through the courts, too. Hope that helps. I'm Lena, your news anchor bestie. You can follow me if you care about this stuff.
Astros game to show him this cool guest that we have, and you're going to find her to be so cool as well. She is not just your average teacher, folks. She is an astronaut. Amy Medina Jorge, a teacher at the Odyssey Academy in Galveston, recently blasted off to space May 31st. Welcome to Houston and Houston Live and Local. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, first off, who are you holding right now?
Oh, this is my flight partner, Marcini. He's a Mexican icon and the Similares Pharmacy mascot. And one of the things that I have to say thank you is to Similares Pharmacy because they were my sponsor to fly to space.
Wow, is this you? Is this some...
Yes.
Wow.
That's the capsule. She's red in green. She's also a space cam alumni like me. So those are images of our flight. I'm gonna be after Jaime Aleman, the Panamanian guy. He was the first Panamanian going to space, and I was the first Puerto Rican.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yes.
so let's just take it back to when you were a little girl, 7 years old, in Puerto Rico. And how were you inspired?
Well, by that time, Kristen McAuliffe was selected to fly to space. So after the Challenger disaster, that dream was kind of dormant until Joe Acaba, who was a Puerto Rican like me, who was a teacher like me, was selected to go to space. And that was like, oh, hold on. If he can do it, I can do it too. So I started to work on, okay, what I need to do to get to space. So that's what I started to, okay, well, let's start by that time I was moving from Puerto Rico to Florida due to Hurricane Maria, like so many Puerto Ricans that lost everything. I lost my home, I lost my job, so I decided to start over. And with that start from scratch, I also decided to retake that dream. So that's what I moved to Florida, start doing this professional development that is so important for us, the teachers. You need to be always ready to learn more stuff. So I started to take those professional development oriented on aerospace education. And those connection with Kennedy Space Center, so close to Winter Haven, I mean an hour, more or less, allow me to get in contact with space. So that's how everything started to flow on that direction. I recovered the contact with Joe Acaba because I know him from the island. And he was the one who told me, hey, you should go to a conference in space in Houston that is for teachers. And you know that great things happen here in Houston.
Yes.
So through that conference, which is NASASIC, it happens every February at Space Center Houston, I started with the networking and getting more professional development, meeting people. And then when the moment was right, I was nominated to an award, an educator award. And that award, the Trailblazing AIAA Trailblazing Educator Award, opens me the door to meet Blue Origin people. So they knew about me, they knew about my teacher career, my teaching career. They knew about all the awards that I have been awarded. And when the time comes, I find these people, Similares Pharmacy, walking out of our session. ISS Mimic, by the way, was ending at the Space Center Houston from the NASASIC conference. And I saw them walking out of the door with this guy. And I was like, what do you want to do with this guy? If we're for us, we will put it in space. And I was like, you know what? I can do that for you. And I know the right persons inside Blue Origin to make this happen. So we started to work and collaborate with Blue Origin until I received the magic call. Actually, December 26th, the day after Christmas, you are not expecting anybody to be working.
Right, yeah.
And I saw that message. I was in a Harry Potter store because I'm a Potterhead.
Oh my gosh.
And I was in that store when I received a text message.
That's
Hey.
like magical on many levels, right?
Definitely, because it says, can you call us? I called, and guess what? Amy, I'm calling you to tell you that you are in the Blue Origin manifest to fly to space next year. You can imagine, I want to jump, I want to cry, I want to yell, but the store was full and I have my nephew close to me.
Who cares? I'm going out to space. I would have been like, whatever.
So there's a lot of stuff that you cannot, for confidentiality, you cannot. But it was magical, and it is a way for God to tell you that everything happens at a special moment, at that specific moment, His moment, not yours. Sometimes you and I want the things right away.
Yes.
And it is not that way. He has the perfect moment, and it was a perfect moment for me to know that wonderful news.
Oh my gosh.
It
Okay,
was-
so fast
yeah.
forward to May 31st. We keep looking at all this video that we have. So
Yes.
you're getting in.
That's me
Take me
flying my Puerto
through-
Rican flag.
First of all, take me through. Were you nervous at all? Were you?
Oh no.
Okay. You're ready for this.
Here's the thing. As a teacher, that's what you teach your kids every day. I'm an rocketry engineer, robotics teacher, so that's my stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen. You know the flight profile. But this Team Blue, kudos to Team Blue, they train you in such a way that in 3 days you are ready to go.
Okay, so we're ready to go. Because here's the thing. Like, it's like, I'm going to compare this, and I don't know if it's a good comparison, but here we go. So my friends who are doctors, right? Like gynecologists or whatever. And I was like, gonna have my baby. And then they were telling me stuff to do. But then when they were pregnant, they were like, all that goes out the window. When you're in the moment, it's like totally different. So I'm wondering, if you're in the moment, you're getting out of the Earth's atmosphere. I mean, what is that feeling like?
Well, for me, as a teacher, it was like I am dreaming, and no, it's not a dream. It's reality. It's happening. I'm going to space. I am feeling it. I am getting all this G's and I'm going up, and I am seeing right now how these people in this marvelous rocket are rotating in a way that I can see everything around me. So you can see all the mountains around, you can see all the blues, and you can see how these different tones of blue are changing until you reach the blackness of space. I mean, it is amazing.
Okay, so you're here, you're looking down at Earth. Like, what is this, an out-of-body experience? I mean, what's happening here?
Well, the first thing that you see, you feel three things. You feel, first, oh my God, I can't believe that I am seeing this. I can't believe that I see the Earth rounded, beautiful, but fragile. So we need to take care of our planet. That's one of the messages of this mission. Second, you are seeing this infinite universe in front of you. It's completely black. That black is infinite. And that's why you realize, oh my God, we are doing so little to explore beyond Earth. So we need more people getting to this. We need our kiddos, our Artemis and Mars generation get involved in careers that make our space exploration go further. beyond we are reaching right now. We are barely go back to the moon next year. We have so much to go to explore, but we need our kiddos, like your kiddo, get involved into this. And then you see the God's creation, which is beautiful. Our Earth is beautiful, and it is fragile, and we need to take care of it.
When I've talked to astronauts before, the question I ask, and what's very interesting, is the perspective change. Has there been any perspective change for you?
Yes. As a robotic teacher, one of the things that I teach my kiddos in the classroom is how to build and use the underwater robots to take care of the oceans. And I think that with this experience, I need to look for joining together what is the inner and the outer space, and teach my kiddos, my students, how we can take care of our planet involving these two environments, the inner and the outer space, how we can do experiments and research on space that benefit Earth in another different way. So this year you're going to see a Miss Medina in the classroom more oriented to take care of our oceans, because believe me, we need to take care of our planet, and we need to start by the oceans. The climate change, the acidification of our oceans, and the bleachment of the corals. We need to start from something. And if I have in my classroom the tools to inspire the kiddos to join the two environments, inner and outer space, in a very hands-on and real-world experience, well, let's go and do it.
That is so amazing. And what's great is you see these missions and you see people from all over the world. I mean, you have someone from Russia, you were saying, in your specific flight.
Yeah.
Who all was there?
It was a Panamanian guy, it was a New Zealand guy, and it was a Canadian guy. Plus, I'm the Puerto Rican.
Yes. So everybody coming together, and it seems like it's just this, underlying
Plus we
denominator.
are flying Dr. Seaman, which is a Mexican guy.
Yes, right. You forgot that one. Yes. And so it just seems like there's this denominator of everybody wanting to explore space and
Yes.
go further, go deeper in understanding the universe that we live in.
Yeah, for the benefit of Earth and humanity.
Yes.
Which is the real mission.
And I know that you were talking about the mission and the mission for what you were doing, but what is the message that you want to send across to people as a teacher and as an astronaut?
Well, first of all, there is something for the students, for the teacher students and the Latin American community. You have to believe in yourself. One thing is that you have to take your dream, transform your dream into a goal, work hard with discipline, with faith, because you have to believe in yourself and that you can do it. And with resilience, because it doesn't matter how much obstacles you can face, you can overcome that. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you will see how you are going to reach your goal and make that dream a reality. So for our Latin American community, sí se puede.
Sí se puedo. Yes. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
And I think it's so important, especially the younger generation. I mean, she was just talking to my son and he was just mesmerized. And I think that it was just so great to influence our younger generation. And there's so much in STEM and people just need to be
and
exposed.
the science that happened through that mission, people don't have a clue, they don't have an idea that I was doing science inside the capsule. I was conducting an experiment inside the capsule with a biometric device, and inside the astronaut payload bag I carry seeds and other experiments designed and developed by my students, seeds that I'm going to have the opportunity to share with a lot of schools around the nation, so the kiddos can explore in the classroom and can do research with something that was in space. Igniting that curiosity of, oh, what's going to happen with that seeds? Are going to be growing in the same way as the ones who remain on Earth? And that expands their knowledge and their curiosity about space and how space can benefit life on Earth.
Definitely. Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Now I want to know about space and learn more about it.
It's phenomenal.
This career. No, I know. All right. Well, we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Spectrum of Parenting, where we talk about issues in the special needs community. My name's Faith. I'm a producer here at Fox 26, and I'm also a special needs parent. And today I am so excited to welcome the Carpenter family to the show. We have Craig and Amanda and their daughter Brenna. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. So the Carpenters are about to open a West Houston branch of a gym called We Rock the Spectrum. And this is a place where kids of all abilities can come to play. And I've actually taken my special needs son Noah to one of these gyms. He loved it, and I loved it too, because on the wall it says, "Finally a place where you never have to say I'm sorry." And that is something we are doing a lot as special needs parents, is saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. So I just love that you guys are opening this. I think it's gonna be so great for the community in West Houston. So what inspired you all to open a new gym?
Well, you're looking at the big part of the inspiration right here. So this is Brenna. Brenna is a special needs adult now, but her history is long and complicated. I'll shorten it to, she was 13 years old when she got her autism diagnosis, and there were other health-related things that had come before that. Sure. But we had the same sort of experience, right? When you have a child, you want to introduce them into the typical activities children do, and you have a child that doesn't behave like most other children.
Sure.
So we had the same sort of struggle of saying I'm sorry about the way children behave. Well, she's an adult now, and in school, I want to give a big shout out to the Lone Star College Life Path program. She's in that program up in Tomball, and it's been wonderful. And we were thinking about, well, what does that transition to full adulthood look like?
Sure.
She's always said she wanted to work with kids like her. She wanted to have a job and do something constructive. You go look in the community, and there are some well-intended organizations and businesses that make employment opportunities, but it's not that many, right? Even as a developed society, it's kind of hard. We don't really know what to do with that population in adulthood. So my wife and I were thinking, well, what if we created an opportunity? So we started researching what kind of business could we start. We really wanted to go the franchise route, because then you get a lot of support for branding and things that are already established, a model that's already established. And that led us to We Rock the Spectrum. So creating an employment opportunity for Brenna was a really big part of it. And then another part was we're transplants to the Houston area. We've been here for
just under 3 years.
Just under 3 years.
Okay.
And before that, our daughters were raised in Louisiana, just outside New Orleans, and we got really familiar with the school system and the special needs community. We learned all of the organizations that existed and had a network there, but we come to Texas and really didn't have that. And we started looking around in our community, so we moved to Fulshire, outside of Katy.
Nice, that's where my parents live.
Awesome. So we move out there, and we have this realization as we're starting to build our own friend and social network that it's very transient, right? There's a lot of people who are moving there that are very new. There's tons of opportunity in the Houston area, so people are moving there all the time, and they also don't have that network.
Right.
So we saw there were a lot of people that didn't have that advantage of knowing the ins and outs of the school system, knowing what resources are available, what community organizations are available. So the gym, we were inspired to create that as a community hub as well. So not just a place where our daughter can be and can do something constructive, and we can have this business venture that we want to try out, but also build that community hub where parents of special needs children are connecting with other parents of special needs children. Because we become believers over time that as much as people can have empathy and compassion, that's an experience that you won't really know unless you're going through it as well.
Very true. Yeah, before my son was diagnosed with autism, I was just so green and not aware of everything that I needed to know as a special needs mom, as most parents are. But yeah, as I got further into my son's diagnosis and connecting with resources, I mean, I'm still learning new things every day and new resources.
So many parents feel like they're walking this road alone, not knowing that 3 or 4 houses down, somebody is walking that same path with them. Exactly. So if we can put them in the same room together, and they can feel like, oh, I have this person that I now know that understands if I'm having a rough day or if I have a question to ask, they don't feel like that they don't know the answer to it. They have somewhere to go look for those answers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be so helpful, because you're right. I mean, just since I started this segment, Spectrum of Parenting, people in this station have come up to me to say, I have a special needs grandchild, or my nephew's autistic as well. I think this is so great, and it's going to help so many people with resources. I was just like, I had no idea.
And one of the other things that we've noticed just in talking with families is that they know that some of these resources are out there, but they are not able to take advantage of them because they don't have somewhere for the child to go when there's a meeting happening or a class happening. So our goal is actually to bring some of those resources into the gym so they can bring the kids with them. The kids can be playing. We can bring in the attorneys, the financial planners, the Medicaid representatives, resources from the school system, so they can. Now there's not that barrier to receiving resources because we've eliminated I can't go because my child has nowhere to go.
Oh yeah, so this is so much more than just a gym, but I would love to talk more about what a parent could expect while bringing their special needs child to this gym. So I was reading on your website about how you provide play with a purpose that can exercise and stimulate the 7 senses. I thought that was so interesting because I thought there were only 5 senses. So maybe you guys could explain a little more about how that works.
For sure. So the 5 senses most of us know and cover, and you can see how the gym would obviously stimulate those things. So sight and sound, touch, smell. We have some scented toys and some scented items in the merchandise shop. And then taste, we have snacks. Right? That's easy to provide.
My son will love that.
Absolutely. But I'm going to lean on my physical therapist wife and have her talk about proprioception and the vestibular senses.
Okay, so proprioception and vestibular are 2 things that are very important about how we recognize where our body is in space and relation to other parts of our body and other people. So the sense of being dizzy or spinning, things like that, those are things that are going to stimulate the vestibular system. So swinging, you spin the swings up and you let it unwind. That is going to stimulate that vestibular system. And a lot of autistic children, you'll notice, they're spinners. Mm-hmm. They want to spin in circles constantly. They use the sit and spin. Mm-hmm. So that feeds that vestibular system.
That's so interesting.
And then your proprioceptive system is knowing where your body is in space. Mm-hmm. If you close your eyes, do you know, are you standing upright? Are your arms up in the air? Are they down? Are you falling over? So that is your proprioceptive system. And things like your muscles, your joints, those provide the input as to where you are in space. So think about your trampolines, your foam surfaces. All of those provide input to those systems.
Interesting.
So, as far as, we don't just provide the sound, the touch, you're going to actually get that internal feeling of what's going on. So we like to say it kind of feeds the sensory diet.
Oh, interesting.
So you're getting all those parts and pieces that the kids need to know what's going on with their bodies.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I think, with my son especially, he, stims.
Right.
Where he's overstimulated, he does these just kind of random movements that he needs to just physically get out of him. And so that's why I love taking him to We Rock the Spectrum. He can get out all his energy and, whatever he needs to do.
Well, and you'll notice that a lot of these kids, if, say, their proprioceptive system is not functioning correctly, mm-hmm. they'll do a lot of jumping or a lot of high-impact movements because their body craves that feeling. They need to know exactly what's going on. They like the tight bear hugs, mm-hmm. To be squeezed, or if the vestibular system is off, they want to be spinning and moving quickly because they need to regulate that system.
So interesting. I swear you learn something new every day on this special needs parenting journey.
Absolutely. We're 22 years in and there's never a same day.
That's so true. Well, I'm just so glad that you guys came on. When does your gym officially have its grand opening so people can come check it out?
So our grand opening date's not set yet.
Oh, okay.
We are in the permitting process with Fort Bend. If everything goes smoothly, then
we're hoping to be open like late August.
Yeah, late August is where we're aiming.
Oh, awesome. Okay, well,
it'll be like right after I start my 4th year. So, but for me, like when I start school, I'm not gonna be working there full time until like after I'm done, mm-hmm. which will be May of 26.
Oh, okay. And then you'll be a full-time employee there?
Yes, ma'am.
That's so great. Oh, I'm so excited for you. And, the initiative you've both taken to give your daughter these opportunities, I think is so inspiring. Sometimes, like my mama says, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself.
Absolutely.
But I think you're helping so many other parents with the heavy load we all have to carry. So thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you guys want to add before we say goodbye?
just that we're very grateful for the opportunity to bring this much needed service back to the Katy area. This population is growing daily, and we can't wait for everybody to come and see us.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to have you guys back whenever it opens back up.
We would love that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You can catch us at Thursdays at 2:30 on Houston Live and Local, and we hope you join us next time. Thanks so much.
Well, we do have some breaking news to tell you about. We understand that explosions rang out across Iran's capital just recently as Israel claimed that it was attacking the country. Now, people at the capital over in Tehran awoke to the sound of the blast. State television acknowledged this blast, and I'm reading now from the AP Wire. Israel's defense minister Israel Katz announced a special situation in Israel over Israel attacking Iran. He said schools will be closed in the country on Friday, and there was no immediate word on what was struck. Now, this is some breaking news happening now overseas that we will continue to follow for you. All right, and now we are going to be talking about Sean P. Diddy Combs and what happened in trial today. Oh, co-buying homes is what we're going to be talking about. Let's go to that.
More people, especially millennials and Gen Z, are pooling their money and co-buying homes together, and more multi-generational families are doing it too. In fact, some analysts say it's as high as 15% of buyers. So we're here with Cesar Rincon. He's a real estate agent with Memorial Real Estate Group. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
You've sold homes to co-buyers. What do you tell them to prepare them for making a big purchase like that together?
Well, making the big purchase is a huge decision. Credit is important, having savings is important, but also it's important to have a long-term vision of what's going to happen in 2, 3, 5 years from now with the property.
And they need to make a plan as to how they're going to cover all of the different costs, right?
Yes, of course, utilities is a thing, and then of course maintenance, upkeep. Who's going to pay for gardening or any repairs and things like that? They need to have a little bit of a safety net financially so that they can take care of it and not be splitting hairs on who's paying for what.
And so how do you help people prepare for maybe if someone loses a job or there's some emergency expenses, or what if someone decides they want to sell their half?
Yeah, so it's important that they have a future plan ahead of time. If somebody, meets somebody, wants to get married and move on or move to another state, they need to have a plan ahead of time so that they know what's going to happen.
So Cesar, let me ask you about multi-generational families buying homes, because we're hearing about more of them going in together.
Yes, so in some cases, multi-generational, what they do is they buy a 2-story home where maybe the older children can live upstairs and the parents can live downstairs. So there's that separation. And also there's multi-generational homes that are being built these days that have an auxiliary unit that's a full unit with a kitchen, bathroom, and everything connected, but separate at the same time.
Experts say it's a good idea to have a joint account to make the transactions and to have 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside for those unexpected emergencies. In Houston, Heather Sullivan, Fox News.
We are talking about such an important topic, mental health, and there's actually a great resource here in the Houston area that many of you might not know about. And right now I have me joining 2 people, very important, Mehtab Moradi and Nasruddin Rupani. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
And so, Mr. Rupani, I want to start with you because your clinics, the Ibn Sina Foundation, and you have 2 foundations. First of all, can you describe what your foundation is and what these clinics do for the community?
Thank you. First of all, giving us this honor to be here and interviewing us. I have 2 foundations. One is called Ibn Sina Foundation and the other one is Rupani Foundation. Both are working on really mental health extensively in Houston and around the country. And also, like, Ibn Sina has currently 7 clinics, charitable clinics around Houston, and it's about like almost 25 years have been serving. Today, Ibn Sina has been the 2nd largest service provider in Houston, or maybe sorry, in Harris County. We've been seeing almost over 85,000 patients a year, and recently we have now embarked on early mental health service providing. Like, since Mehtab has been joined us about 3 years ago, we have been extensively working on mental health services and continue to expand our mental health services.
Why did you want to start something like this?
We saw a greater need during really the COVID time. We saw a huge need and there's a great surge, and we saw that this needs to be addressed. So and as you know, I have another foundation called Rupani Foundation. We have been working on Rupani Foundation for last 2 decades on mental health because we work on early childhood development program. We really start very, very early before even conceiving, because we know that the maternal mental health is very, very critical. So those 9 months of mother's womb, the child's foundation is built in mother's womb. The entire brain is developed in mother's womb. So that 9 months are very, very critical. You can make it or break it here. So that's why we, in my foundation, Rupani Foundation, has been working on mental health for at least 2 decades on addressing maternal mental health. And as you know, maternal mental health is very, very critical. Our 80% of mothers are now working mothers in US. And they juggle, they struggle, they have anxiety and stress throughout their lifetime. And while they're pregnant, if they are all stressed out and have anxiety, it translates to the child. And as you see today, our children are, as you know, they are readily, like the new research is telling us that 13% of our high schoolers today, girls, are suicidal today. And it's just unacceptable. It is unacceptable. Our children are suffering. Our children are going through anxiety, and we need to address it, and we need to provide them. But according to what I am learning and what I'm seeing is that whatever we are doing today, we are only patching. We are just bandaging. we are not addressing the root cause. We need to address the root cause, where this all starts, and how can we minimize this pipeline that is coming through. And I think my both foundation are working towards maternal mental health, because maternal mental health is under crisis. And if we don't address, and if we don't take care of our mothers, we will not be able to address it. So first thing is to really address our mothers' maternal mental health, because this is under crisis.
That's very interesting. And I want to bring you in, Mahtab. So you're the Director of Behavioral Health Services at the foundation, and also you're moderating a very important event and discussion that's happening on Sunday. Talk about that.
Yeah, so the event on Sunday is also targeting youth, because the youth seem to be having the most difficult time. And then the event on Sunday captures the impact of digital media and how that's affecting our youth and direct impact on mental health. We're inviting folks from, advocacy groups, mental health leaders in the digital psychology world to speak. And, we all go around as parents with a lot of concern. Is my kid on the tablet too long? What do I do? And we're helpless. So we're lucky that the event on Sunday will kind of bring those key people together to shed some light on where it is that makes the most sense for us to have a call to action. And on my end and the Ibn Sina clinics, thanks to the generosity of Chairman Rupani and some government funding programs that helped us pilot a very successful program that targets prevention. So we are not putting Band-Aid. We're literally catching folks during their family medicine visit, and we're screening everyone who walks through our clinics for anxiety and depression and substance use.
And this event happening on June 15th, Sunday, is at the Eternal Gandhi Museum, and you will need to register, and we'll have all that information on our website a little bit later this evening, including a link to where you can see the entire conversation, almost 30 minutes, and very interesting, impactful, and educational. I want to thank you for joining Houston Live and Local. We'll see you again on Fox 26 News at 9.
Bye.